Let us discuss on capital budgeting, and today I want us to look at a question which was set in November 2017, question number 1B. November 2017, question number 1B. Let us discuss on that. November 2017, question number 1B. So this is what we are told, is what we are told from the question. November 2017, question number 1B. So you are told that Viwanda Limited is considering purchasing a machine at a cost of shillings 40 million. The company will incur an additional shillings 20 million to modify the machine for special use. The machine is expected to have a useful life of 3 years and a scrap value of shillings 15 million after 3 years. This investment will require an increase in net working capital of shillings 2 million at the beginning of its useful life. The additional investment in working capital will return to normal at the end of the machine's useful life. The machine's purchase will not affect the revenue, but it is expected to save the company shillings 25 million each year in before tax operating cost, mainly labor. The corporation tax rate is 30% and the company's cost of capital is 10%. Required advice Viwanda Limited on whether to buy the machine. Then number 2, suppose the firm's management is unsure about the savings in before tax operating cost. Carry out a sensitivity analysis on this variable, assuming that the variable shall vary adversely by 10%. So, in capital budgeting, we have various projects. And the project number 1 that we have under capital budgeting is what we call the mutually exclusive project. So when we talk about the mutually exclusive project, they are alternate or substitute project. Meaning, if you undertake one project, automatically you are going to reject the other project. Those are mutually exclusive projects. Number 2, we have what we call independent projects. Independent projects, these are projects which serve different purposes. The undertaking of one project does not affect the undertaking of another project. Meaning, for these independent projects, they can stand on their own, and therefore, you can do them simultaneously. Then number 3, we have what we call dependent projects. For the case of the dependent projects, these are the projects which depend on each other. They are the projects which complement each other. So we call them dependent projects or complementary projects, or we can call them the contingent projects. Meaning, the undertaking of one project automatically means you are supposed to take the other projects. Then number 4, we have what we call divisible projects. When we talk about the divisible projects, these are those projects that can generate the revenue even before they are completed. A good example of divisible projects is when we talk about the story building. The story building, you can just construct the ground floor and construct the first floor and then allow the tenant to come in. As they give you the revenue, then you collect the revenue. Once you have enough revenue, you can continue with other floors. Then number 5, we have indivisible project. These are those projects which cannot start generating revenue unless they are completed. In this case, you cannot do this project partly. Reason being, if you do them partly, there is nothing you are going to get in return. Then number 6, we have the replacement project. When we talk about the replacement project, this is where you replace an old and inefficient asset with a new and more efficient asset. Then number 7, we have acquisition project. When we talk about the acquisition project, this is where you buy an asset or you acquire an asset which was not there before. You acquire a new asset to the company. We call them the acquisition. You purchase a new asset which has never existed before. We call them acquisition project. And this time round, the examiner is testing on the acquisition project. He needs you to evaluate and tell us whether it is worth the while for us to invest in that new asset. He wants us to evaluate so that we can be able to tell whether it is worth the while for us to invest in that asset. So let us look at the question again. So, the requirement is advice. Viwanda Limited on whether to buy the machine. We need to advise. And remember, when we were discussing about the replacement project, we said that we had 6 steps to follow. Step number 1 was to determine the present value of cash outflow. That was the step number 1. You determine the present value. Of cash outflow. And it is the same step we are going to follow when we are evaluating the acquisition project. So let us determine the present value of cash outflow. Our shillings were given in million. So you take the cost of the machine. And in this case, the cost of the machine we are told is how much? Viwanda Limited is considering purchasing a machine at a cost of shillings 40 million. The cost of the machine is 40 million. Then from there, we said if we have the modification cost, installation cost, freight charges, and import duties are going to be the part of the machine's cost. So in this case, the examiner has brought the modification cost. So modification cost, which is how much? You are told that the company will incur an additional shillings 20 million to modify this machine for special use. The machine is expected to have a useful life of 3 years and a scrap value of shillings 15 million after 3 years. This investment will require an increase in net working capital of shillings 2 million at the beginning of its useful life. So the cost of this machine will be this one, the cost of the machine itself, plus the modification cost so that it can serve the purpose. Then, also when we are computing the present value of cash outflow, we need to add the net working capital. So the net working capital in this case, we are told is 2. So therefore, our total present value of cash outflow will be 62. That is the first step to follow. Then the second step, under replacement, we say that we are going to determine incremental depreciation. So in this case now, we will not determine incremental depreciation, but we are going to determine the depreciation per annum. And the depreciation per annum, we use the straight line since the examiner is silent. So depreciation will be given by the cost minus salvage value, or what we call the scrap value, or we can call it the resale value. Then you divide by the useful life. And in this case, we have said that the cost of this machine will include the cost of the machine itself plus that cost that you incurred to modify this machine so that it can serve the purpose. So this plus this, our cost now will be 60. Then you raise the salvage value. The salvage value, how much are we given? So this is what we are told. We are told that the machine is expected to have a useful life of 3 years and a salvage value of 15. So the salvage value is 15 and the useful life is 3. So this minus this, you will get 45. You divide by 3, you will get shillings 15 million. 15 million. That will be the depreciation. Then from there, we need to go to number 3. Now, remember, under replacement, number 3, we were supposed to determine the incremental salvage value. For this case, for the acquisition project, the salvage value is already given. So it is for us to go to step number 4 and determine the terminal benefit. We determine the terminal benefit. How are we going to get the terminal benefit? We take the salvage value, which in this case the salvage value is how much? The salvage value is 15. So it will be 15. Then we add the net working capital. The net working capital. And our net working capital in this case, we are given as 2 million. Remember, we said that the net working capital at the beginning is going to be treated as an outflow. And then at the end, we are going to recover it. So we treat it as inflow. So therefore, how much will be our terminal benefit? Our terminal benefit will be this one plus this one, which will be 17 million. Then once we evaluate the step number 3, the last step for us in this case before we can determine the net present value is we get step 4 is the annual operating cash flow. And the most appropriate method is for us to use the formula, whereby for us to get the annual operating cash flow is the earnings before depreciation and tax, then 1 minus T plus depreciation tax shield benefit. So in this case, let us first get the earnings before depreciation and tax. So we go to the almost the last paragraph. You are told that the machine's purchase will not affect the revenue, but it is expected to save the company shillings 25 million each year in before tax operating cost, mainly labor. So our earnings before depreciation and tax, we are going to save how much? 25 million into bracket 1 minus T. The tax rate we are given, the last line, the corporation tax rate is 30%. So 0.3 plus depreciation tax shield benefit. We said for us to get the depreciation tax shield benefit, we will be taking the depreciation expense. This is our depreciation expense. Then we multiply by the tax rate. Our tax rate is 30%. So for us to arrive at the annual operating cash flow. So our annual operating cash flow will be how much? Let us compute that. So it is going to be 25, then you multiply by 0.7, plus 15, you multiply by 0.3. So our annual operating cash flow will be 22 million. 22 million. Once we get 22 million, now it is for us to evaluate step number 5. Step number 5 is for us to get the NPV, net present value. The net present value is given by the present value of cash inflow minus present value of cash outflow. Like in our case, how are we going to get the present value of cash inflow? The present value of cash inflow in our case will be given by the present value of annuity plus present value of terminal benefit. So how do we arrive at the present value of annuity? It's given by the annuity, then you multiply by the present value interest factor annuity. Then R percent, then raised to power n. So in our case, our annuity was how much? Our annuity was 22. So it will be 22, then we multiply by this factor. So how do we get this factor? This factor, we said, is given by 1 minus 1 plus r raised to negative n, you divide by r. Our cost of capital was how much? Let us see how much was our cost of capital. The cost of capital given was how much? Our cost of capital is 10%. 10%. So it will be 22, then 1 minus 1 plus 0.1. Then you raise to negative 3, you divide by 0.1. So our present value of annuity will be 22 times, we get this factor to 4 decimal places. 4 decimal places. It is going to be 1 point. Remember here we have the bracket, 1.1 raised to negative 3. Then 1 minus the answer. Then you divide by 0.1. You will get 2.48. 2.4869. So therefore the total will be how many? How much? It will be 22 times 2.4869. So we are going to get shillings 54.7118 million. Then the next step is for us to compute the present value of terminal benefit. The present value of terminal benefit will be given by the terminal benefit. Then you multiply by the present value interest factor, R% N. So the terminal benefit we had computed here, it is 17. Then this one, this factor also is given by what? 1 plus R raised to negative N. So it is going to be 1 plus what? Plus 0.1 raised to negative 3. So in our case, it will be 17 times, let us get that, 1.1 raised to negative 3. It is going to be 0.7513. So take 17 times 0.7513. We are going to get how much? 17 times 0.7513. In our case, it is 12.7721 million. 21 million shillings. That is what we have. Then we are going to accumulate the two for us to get the present value of cash inflow. So when we accumulate the two, let us get the present value of cash inflow. It will be given by you take this one plus this one. So therefore, it is 54.7118 plus 12.7721. In this case, you will get shillings 67.4839 million. 39 million. Then from there, now we can get our NPV. NPV, we have said the net present value is present value of cash in flow. So we will take 67.4839. Then we subtract the outflow. Our outflow was how much? It was 62. So therefore, our NPV will be how much? Minus 62. Our NPV will be shillings 5.4839 million. So this is our NPV. The examiner wanted us first to evaluate the project. Once we evaluate the project, we make a decision based on the NPV. So we have found that the NPV is positive. Therefore, the advice, you need to advise this company known as Viwanda. Viwanda Limited should buy the machine, since our NPV, since the NPV is positive. Since the NPV is positive. Anytime you evaluate and you find that the NPV is positive, the decision should be they should buy the machine or they should purchase. If we had gotten a negative NPV, therefore the decision would have been they should not buy the machine. Reason being, it is not going to add any positive to the company. So that is how we evaluate Roman 1. So we are done with Roman 1. I want us to evaluate Roman 2. So for the case of the Roman 2, this is what you are told. Roman 2, you are told, suppose the firm's management is unsure about the savings in before tax operating costs. Carry out a sensitivity analysis on this variable, assuming that the variable shall vary adversely by 10%. So in this case, we are given the impact. So that one, we call it sensitivity analysis, but we call it the impact analysis. So impact analysis, this is where we are going to be given the percentage change, the impact, or what we call the effect. So we are told we evaluate the effect of 10%. 10% on what? On these earnings before depreciation and tax, or what we call the cost savings. The cost savings is like a revenue. So the revenue, if we are given an impact of 10%, it will go down by 10%. Remember, the normal one is 100%. So if it goes down by 10%, it will be 90%. So let us evaluate our earnings before depreciation and tax. We see the effect. The amount is 25. The amount is 25 million. So 25 million, then we multiply by 90%. So the effect, our savings will change to how much? It is 25 times 0.9. It will change to shillings 22.5 million. Then from there we can evaluate. The other factors will remain constant. So therefore, let us get our annual operating cash flow. Our annual operating cash flow will be given by the earnings before depreciation and tax, which in this case, it is 22.5, then you multiply by 0.7, or you can say 1 minus 0.3. Then we add the depreciation tax sheet benefit. The depreciation will not be affected, so it will be 15 times 0.3. So therefore, our annual operating cash flow will be, take 22.5 multiply by 0.7, so you will get 15.75, then you add 15 times 0.3, so you will get our annual operating will be shillings 20.25 million. Once you have that, now you can get the present value of cash inflow, whereby we said we will start by getting the present value of annuity. Our annuity is 20.25. The annuity factor again will not be affected. It will be 2.4869. So you multiply by 2.4869. So in this case, you will get how many millions? It will be 20.25 times 2.4869. In this case, we will get shillings 50.3597 million. Once we have that, let us compute the present value of terminal benefit. The present value of terminal benefit also will remain the same. It will be 17 times 0.7513, which will give us 12.7721. Then we accumulate. For us to get the total present value of cash inflow. So if we accumulate, how much are we going to get? It will be 50.3597 plus 12.7721. In this case, we will get shillings 63.1318 million. Then we get the net present value. Our net present value will be given by the 63.1318. Then we less the outflow. Outflow was never affected, so our outflow remains. Our outflow is 62. So in this case, we will get an NPV of how much? We will take 63.1318 minus 62. We are going to get 1.1318 million. 18 million. So that is the NPV. If we affect our savings by 10%, the NPV is changing from this. So let us evaluate the percentage change of the NPV. How are we going to evaluate the percentage change or the effect? We are going to take the NPV, the initial NPV, then we subtract the new NPV. Then we divide by the initial NPV, and then we multiply by 100% for us to get that effect. So our NPV initially was how much? Our NPV initially was 5.4839. Then we subtract our NPV 1.1318. Then you divide by 5.4839. Then you multiply by 100%. So therefore, it will be 5.4839 minus 1.1318 equals, then you divide by 5.4839. Then from there you multiply by 100%. So you are going to get 79.36%. 79.36%. So what it means, by just affecting the savings by 10%, the effect on the net present value is 79.36%, meaning that this is a very sensitive. It is a very sensitive variable, or what we call factor. A very sensitive variable, or what we call factor.